All right, so here we are. I did, I do gotta admit that I went ahead and developed the software a bit more, but I just completely got rid of it because I want to try doing this again and again, not for just repeating for the sake of repeating, but more so continuously go over and talk through the process of why I'm doing exactly like why I'm doing what I'm doing and the like just to kind of like verbalize the intention for every single thing that I do here. So here we are. So essentially so as you can see, perhaps the notes might look a little bit different, but like may look a bit more expanded. But what I have done is that for the purpose, I am again, the purpose itself, like I just included just a little bit more just to kind of like develop what kind of things will the software itself be the or at least the first class that we're working with is going to be covering. So excuse me. So the program that I'm about to write is essentially going to allow user to track inventory details about various products offered by a store, right? And details can be about the product, such as item type, price, quantity, total value itself. Yes, so that is going to be a detail. But earlier I did have it as a instance object, but now I'm going to go ahead and change it and make it so that's a method. And we're going to see how I'm going to calculate that. So that's more dynamic. And I'll also describe what that is, what I mean by dynamic. Now, in the constructor, we can see that, like so far, just watching the video from the tutorial, I have just covered essentially just three things: constructor, class attributes, and magic methods, and as well as just the regular method itself. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and as I'm covering those things, I'm gonna go ahead and like explain them. So here we are, just with looking at constructor, right? So setting their default values, that's essentially going to be um, in case like certain values they might be that they may that by default they're always going to like need to be there. So why not? What's a better way of uh, giving them values than simply just giving them default values, right? And I'll show you how that's done within the constructor as well as the data types. So where if we want to restrict a certain attribute, an object attribute, to have a certain data type, we are able to see that. I did have like off recording, I did have a little bit issue where I had set up a data type, but it continued receiving other ones, and I wasn't too sure. So I'm going to try digging into that too. The third point, looking at additional attributes to an object, right? So what this means is within the constructor, if I only have like for here for this object that would be created from the class item, it would be initialized with three attributes. But what if we want to add more, right? So we can do that. And I also had an issue with this. I don't know if it's something to do with my own setup or something, but I'm going to try digging into that. And as well as validations for any incoming attribute values. So creating the object from items, and if I toss, let's say for price, a negative value, it should give us like that's an invalid value. So therefore, we can set up some validation and state. I think it's called a statement keyword assert, and from there we can we can essentially just create a certain bound that the price has to be above or below or even within a range, right? Depending on how creative I want to get. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with just the constructor itself. So we are here with the with this, right? So so with this class, and let's go ahead and set up some just random items. And I'm kind of moving away and just kind of creating my own context for this whole program, just because it's going to allow me to actually think versus copying the same context from the tutorial and just blindly following, which I have been doing before. It was good to understand those basic things, but now if I really want to understand what I'm doing, I'm deciding to change the context. So let's say if my store or the items that it's dealing with is going to be plants. I just have a thing I personally like I have a hobby of growing and maintaining and yeah, just like taking care of plants, and like I like plants. I'm like a plant owner, so plants owner, so I like doing that. So I'm just kind of thinking from that. So if I had a store that was selling plants, how would I go about setting up this entire program? So let's start off with just the items, right? And of course, a store in general has a lot more things happening, but right now we're just going to worry about what's being purchased and how that's being, and then how our inventory plays a part in this. So let's say if I set up three different plants. So I have the bonsai, we have the tempera tourist. Is just a name that I like for my tourist. Oh my god, I kind of forgot how to spell that. And I'll explain what those are. But yeah, so here we are. So for bonsai, we are setting up and then just the name of it itself, and it's going to be this, and the price is going to be, let's say, $500. And let's say if it's going to be, so let's first put it as a integer, and then we'll see about the enforcement and stuff. So we got the name, we got the price, and we got the quantity, right? So let's say the quantity is 10. Temper tourist, let's just do, yeah, so these are just some plants that I have against like the window, right? Or against like the houses, like places window where temperature fluctuations are pretty happen throughout the day. Day is very warm because of the sun, and then nighttime gets very cold, especially in the winter. So those are just things that I have for my own testing purposes. But yeah, so we have another type of plant that is a temper tourist, and then the other one is a mixed aquatic, right? I just like to call it that because I essentially just have them in a massive bowl of just various types of plants. Just and it's almost like it's a semi-closed environment. Just kind of going off topic there. So mixed aquatics. I don't even know what the true names are, to be honest, but here we are. So yeah, item and right? Sorry, give me one moment, please. Yeah, sorry about that. Just have to quickly just take a pause. But yeah, just setting up the third object itself. Price is going to be, let's say these are the cheaper, and I have 5 of these, right? Now, in this case, we are hard coding these, right? We are having, every time we create an object, we have to provide these values. Now, which is perfectly fine for the time being. And of course, like these objects can be defined in various ways, right? Like it could be the user input itself, like the user can be asked to put these in, and then somehow get submitted into creating these objects. And now the second, now what we want to look at is assigning these default values. So let's say if let's say we set up a default value of 0 for the quantity, right? So in case that we have a new shipment coming in of different products, and somehow we just forget to, for whatever reason, we forget to write down the quantity that we had. So initially, at least initialized, it is going to be given 0 instead of it just keep on begging for it, right? Because maybe after like you figure out what's been shipped, then we can later on update the quantity. Price itself, we can leave it not at 0. We would have to definitely put that in, and as well as name. The other thing is now putting in a data type, right? So for name, obviously it can't be a number. It has to be we would like it to be an integer instead of just some number or some code. So now, so in this case, we have the bonsai, which is coming in as a string, and we have the quantity that's being provided. Now, let's say if you just want to change it up, and for the last item, for the last object, we didn't provide any mixed quantity. So what happens with that? So we have over here, and if we actually do print out just to see what the value is, I expect it to be 0, right? Because that's what we have set up here. And yeah, so let's say we have print, and so let's see. Oops, that's good. Right. So here, so this is where we can actually see that the quantity itself was given to be 0, which is perfect, right? Because that's exactly what we wanted. Because we didn't provide anything, it by default set it up at 0, and we can test this out by giving it 100, and there it is. The 100 is over here. So yeah. Now the other thing is with the enforcement of data types, right? So the data types right now we have bonsai. Now let's say instead of changing the name and then undoing that, let's just put it for price, and let's do float, right? Float just because it's a like it's monetary aspect, so there has to be some sense. So in this case, something that caught me off guard was the definition of how these are going about. I'm pretty sure like that these definitions also show up just when we're declaring like just just a regular way of giving values. But here it says that it converts in the if let's say a string or a number is provided, it will actually convert it to a floating point. So which is I want to see how that goes about. So let's say if we have some string, right? How is that going to be converting it? Because it should really throw us an error, but it doesn't. And this is one of those things where I am a little bit confused as to how, like, why is it not like, why is it not able to give us an error? Like, does it actually, like, if I was to provide a string, does it actually like um, convert its like value, like it converts into binary and then it provides it as float. I'm not too sure. Now, just to check for that, we can actually even do price, and weirdly enough, I do expect it to give us random, which is not right because name is there, basically just being enforced, and I'm pretty sure now if I was to go ahead and change this, it will still show us that. It will still show as the incorrect print type, not to mention the value itself will also print out. So that's, oh, sorry, that should be name. Name, okay. So here we are, right? Very, very weird. I'm not too sure how to go around this. I just gonna, like in the tutorial, it was doing it perfectly. It actually gave it actually returned an error, but for some reason in my case, it's not. So I'm not too sure what this issue is, but we are gonna we're gonna just for the time being, we're just gonna revert it back to just strings, and then but we're gonna keep it on tab, right? Like we know that this problem exists. Let's see how we're gonna go around that. Because of this, so now we have over here, we can see that over here, like when this tutorial was actually showing this, it actually did raise an error, but I'm not too sure why this is not raising for us. Now the other thing is if I want to include additional attributes, right? So let's say if it was bonsai dot, I don't know, name, price, quality, what could be another attribute for a plant? Um, I don't know. Conveys, right? Um, like does it come with a vase itself, or if it just comes with like a plastic pot? Now, this thing, it should, for some odd reason, like I noticed that it doesn't allow us to do that. So let's say if I was to do true, if assuming that it comes in with the pot, it doesn't really print out. I don't know if it does or not. Okay, so in this case, it actually did do it. Interesting. Because we can see that here, and yeah, so in this case, it gave us true. Base cost was, let's say, $50, right? So, oh, see, all right. Base cost. Okay, so we got 50 over here. Okay. Come on. Sorry about that. Yeah, so now we have been able to add in additional attributes